Most apartments in Tokyo are surprisingly not foreigner friendly, and sometimes, very rare, it also depends on the nationality as well. In Japan, you do not need to have a license to become a registered agent. It's more like the company has to have the license. It doesn't matter how much money you have here. If you're a student, it's very difficult. I have some cases where people like, okay, I have enough money, I can pay the rent for the whole 2 years up front. Still, it's a no.
Thanks for joining us on Unpacking Japan, proudly produced by our team at Zen Studio with the long-standing support of Zen Group. To keep these weekly stories coming, please consider subscribing. It's the best way to support the show and really makes a difference. And now, let's get into it. Welcome to Unpacking Japan. I'm Toby, and today I have the pleasure to welcome Sandul Vinska. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
You just came all the way from Tokyo, where you are a content creator and also a real estate agent. You've been working in that industry for a couple of years now and have a lot of exciting projects, including the one where you want to visit 1,000 homes here in Japan and probably more after that. We'll talk about how that project is going and what you learned from it. But I want to go back a little bit to the beginning. And actually, we just found out that we arrived here in the same year, to Japan, 2018. And you came here from Sri Lanka. What brought you to Japan in the first place? Why did you come here?
Great question. So let's go back. I came here to Japan as a university student. I got a scholarship to come here. But how it all happened was like in high school. Let's go back to the high school. So in our high school, what happened was like, we have something called A-levels. I'm sure you're familiar with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you pass the A-levels, that's what the scores you get, that's what determines that which university you're going to be studying at, which subject you're going to be studying at.
Mm-hmm.
So just to give you a little bit of context, I'll bring you back a little bit further down the memory lane. And when I was a kid, I'm coming from a middle class family. So it's not like we had the capacity to afford going abroad or like afford the tuition fee, because like in Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka rupee is also very weak. And I knew that it's not possible for us to pay for me to go somewhere else outside of Sri Lanka to study, right? But that being said, I always had that thought in the back of my head, like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know after high school, I'm going to go somewhere else. It can be, well, I didn't know the exact country, to be honest, but I knew wanted to go somewhere to study, and my parents knew that as well. So I finished A-levels. I got into the university in Sri Lanka because of the A-level results. I was there for like around 3 years, and one little thing I also forgot to mention was my mom used to teach in the same school that I went to, like I studied at. So one day, like one of my mom's friends mentioned to her saying, hey, there's this scholarship program going on awarded by this university in Japan, and they're awarding this scholarship to 10 students from the whole country, and then they're giving 2 chances to our own high school. And then the moment my mom heard that, she called me and asked me, hey, there's this scholarship program going on. Would you like to apply? I'm like, immediate yes. It's a no-brainer for me. Like, hey, yes. I don't know if I'm going to get selected or not, but I wanted to like at least try and see, like, try my luck.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied to that. And then got all the documentation ready while I was still, again, in the university in Sri Lanka. And then a couple of months went by. Turned out it was a yes. And then I was being awarded from this university in Japan a full scholarship. And then they're going to cover all my tuition expenses and all that. So that I got that news around 2017 in December. And by March of 2018, I was here in Japan.
That's
starting a new life, back from zero, no friends, no family, and I had to learn everything from scratch, basically. But that's what got me into Japan. It's not like I've always been interested about Japan or like I was a fan of anime, because I know a lot of people come here because of that.
And I was going to ask that. If before getting that opportunity to apply for the scholarship, Japan was a country that you kind of had some kind of a relationship with or an interest in growing up, because I grew up in Europe, and as you just said, either the pop culture side of things, so anime, manga, or the more traditional side of things is quite prominent, and people know and people are interested and they have an interest in Japan. But how about for you in Sri Lanka? Did you have any things that you kind of grew up with that were familiar to you from Japan?
I mean, when you're a kid, right? Like, I think anyone can relate to this. When you're from another country, Japan has always been known for, like, little gadgets and the games and whatnot. So of course, like, I played with little, the cameras and things like that when I was a kid, but I didn't particularly have a big interest about coming to Japan. And if I'm being very honest, if that same scholarship were to be awarded by a university in, let's say, Australia, I would have gone there, honestly, and my life would have been so different, and I wouldn't even be here, and things would have taken a very different path. And I know this saying, I'm sure like you're familiar with this as well. There's this saying goes that everything in life happens for you, not to you. And then at the moment it might not make sense, but when you're looking back, everything aligns so perfectly, everything is so crystal clear. This happened because of that happened because of that. And yeah, that's life, man. It's exciting.
And that brought you here, and you're still here many years later, without any preconception of the country. When you got the opportunity to apply for the scholarship, you, I imagine, started thinking about, what would it be like if I'm in Japan? What did you kind of imagine before coming here? What life would be like here, or did you have a plan or a goal in mind when you started seeing an opportunity to study abroad, but in Japan and not in Australia?
Yeah. So again, since Sri Lanka and Japan are two very different countries, like different language, different culture, the food is different, and to start with, I didn't have anyone to rely on as well here. So my initial plan was to, okay, come here to Japan. I thought, since I'm going to be based in Tokyo, everyone going to be speaking in English. That was my idea, right? I'm like, okay, I don't need Japanese, bro. I'm just going to go to Tokyo. It's Tokyo at the end of the day. It's like one of the biggest cities in the world. I'm going to survive in talking English. I'm going to have a really good circle of friends, like in my university. But turned out not to be the case. It was very difficult at first, so I had to study Japanese. It's more like a survival instinct, I would say. But the thing is, since I went to international university, I didn't really have the need to study the Japanese and then be fluent at it. I just studied enough just to get by. And my plan was, again, since I was starting from zero, since I didn't know anyone, it was difficult. And I remember the times I called back home saying how much I miss them, because this is the first time I've ever gone outside the country without my family. And it's not just traveling, right? I just moved here.
Yeah.
Two very different stories. So in the beginning, it was, of course, like very, very rough. And there was times I really wanted to go back as well. But I'm glad that I pushed through it. And the more you stayed in Japan, or just like any other country, I think the culture just kind of creeps up on you, and then your personality changes. And after university, I'm like, I think this is my home now. I think I want to stay here rather than going back home.
So at the beginning, you thought it might just be like, okay, I'm going here for the study abroad opportunity, get a degree or get that university experience, and then maybe move back to Sri Lanka or elsewhere for work.
Exactly, as mentioned.
But what changed then during those years at university? Because you just described it as, maybe this is my home now. But home is a pretty big word in a sense to kind of consider a place your home. What made it feel like home for you throughout those years at university?
Yeah, I think the difficult part, right, for anyone when they face that difficulty, the difficult part is the change. Like, people are generally do not like change at all, right? So in the beginning, you have to push yourself a little bit to go through that change. And then once you like pass that tunnel, the more time you spend in a different country, different culture, surrounded by different kind of people, your personality, little by little, you might not realize it, but it gradually changes. Because like, that's how human nature works, right? You get accustomed to like what you're surrounded by. And I think that's exactly what happened to me. And I fell in love with the culture here, the people, and how kind they are. And the thing in Japan is like, everything is so clean, everything as it should be, if that makes sense. And yeah, I'm a big fan of that culture, and then how everything just works as it's supposed to, which is not the case in my country. And how safe it is. Yeah. So I really, really like it.
Earlier, you mentioned that when you came to university and you thought you'd have a big group of friends and quickly kind of familiarize yourself, but it was not the case. From what I know, you did become president of a student association of also Sri Lankan student and kind of built your own community in a way. How did that come to be?
It was interesting because, like, again, like I mentioned before, I didn't know anyone when I first got here. No family, right? But I guess I was kind of lucky in a sense because, like, in my university, since it's an international university, there was already some kind of Sri Lankan community there. Like, not a big community, but there was some Sri Lankan people there. So it kind of allowed me to, like, okay, I'm in a different country, surrounded by different people, but at the same time, I kind of have my own little community here with my own little identity. So I didn't really have to go through the change immediately, but it kind of helped me to ease into Japan a little bit while also holding into my, like, Sri Lankan identity, surrounded by, like, it's once in a while it's also nice to, like, speak your language as well even in a different country. You don't really appreciate it when you're living in your own country, but you really start to miss it when you're living in a different country. So in a way, I'm really grateful for that. And then since it's an international university, little by little we grew the community as well. And again, there were people from different countries. So we had this thing called international festival. So what we did was, every country, they had like a little booth. So they expressed their culture to other people who are not familiar with their culture through performances, like having booths or the way they dress. So this happened once every year. So it's more like I would like to say, like, it's more like glue that hold everyone together that are from the same country. And because, like, in the university, everyone is, like, in studying different things in different majors, and people also go to work in Japan, right? And it was really fun, and then it was really amazing to be surrounded by those people, and I'm really grateful for that.
What are the things that you wanted to showcase from your culture at those booths from Sri Lanka that
Food.
People should know?
Food, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Sri Lankan food, and turns out a lot of people like Sri Lankan food as well, and there's a lot of amazing things in Sri Lanka that most people, the thing is, they have never tried Sri Lankan food to begin with. So most people that came to a university or to a booth during the international festival, they got to try Sri Lankan food for the first time ever. And it's nice to experience that from, like, because, like, it's normal for us, right?
Yeah.
So when someone else from a different country tries something from our culture, it's just like I have a genuine appreciation for them, and it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine getting someone their first experience of food or something like that is a good memory for you to kind of share.
Because food is also kind of like a love language as well, right? Like, people love food. If anything, like a universal love language, it's food.
Are there a lot of places in Japan where you can eat Sri Lankan food, like restaurant-wise and such?
There's quite a lot, actually, especially in Tokyo. I don't know how it is in Osaka down here.
I see quite a lot of Indian places, also from different regions of India, so that's interesting. But I don't think I've noticed so many, like, Sri Lankan food. Or maybe they have some Sri Lankan dishes, but I'm not too familiar with it, so I cannot really
Let me ask you a question. Have you tried Sri Lankan food?
I don't think I can say I do. I may have, but that would be without me knowing that it's from Sri Lanka.
Right.
But we have a very nice South Indian restaurant nearby the office. I don't know if there are similarities there with the food.
Very different.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Just a small sea apart in the food changes again.
I know. Like, people tend to think like it's similar, especially, like, whenever I tell, like, I'm from Sri Lanka, the Japanese people as well, they tend to, like, see, oh, it's right next to India, so the culture and the food and everything might be similar, right? But no, everything is so different. But yeah, it's a little culture on its own. Yeah, the same way Japan has its own culture that is different from everywhere else in the world. It's very unique. Yeah.
So during those years, you kind of familiarize yourself in the Sri Lankan community and you start going through your studies. You also you mentioned working, a lot of people work. And I think on your first bite or something was quite interesting because you were teaching English at a kind of gym for children. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more like a gym for the children. It's not like a gym in a way that people know a gym to be. It's more like we are teaching fitness and the little basic of little sports, and they all combined together with English. So it's a very immersive experience for the kids as well. And that was my actually not just first baito in Japan, it's just my first job ever. So I was in the beginning, I was a little hesitant towards it because, like, when you're first going into workplace after what 20 years of being alive, you really don't want to work, right? You just sort of live your life. But yeah, I really learned a lot of things there. Again, that being my first job in a very different country, working with people from international countries as well, it taught me a lot of things, especially like me working in Japan, the work culture, and me, since it's my first time working in a culture like this, all the people that you look around, they're all very hardworking, and even the customers, they are like very respectful. And this is known around everywhere in the world, basically, like the how people greet and how much they care about the customers in Japan, and their next level. It's not just like they are meeting your needs, they are more like thinking about meeting your needs that you don't even have yet. So it's always like thinking one step ahead than their customers, which I mean, it's very nice thing to experience from the outside, but when you're working, it's difficult. But you kind of also realize that's why everything just like work as it is, why everything just is perfect here, and the attention to detail is just like, yeah, tremendous.
So that concept, I think I've seen it in Osaka too. It's like a big playroom, a lot of activities where kids can crawl and run around.
Actually, they do have a location in Osaka as well, in Umeda.
So that probably is the one that I've seen.
Maybe.
Walking by. How long did you work there for?
I was working there throughout my entire university life. Yeah, that was my first part-time job. And I joined there when I was a freshman in the university, and then I stayed with them until I was a graduate student.
Most people that go into teaching English, they go to typical schools or after schools, and they teach in a classroom setting, maybe with games and activities. Where does this kind of concept come from, and what have you seen maybe from actually working with the kids and how they kind of learn the language through physical activity?
The main reason I joined that job is because I love kids. And that's also, in a selfish way, a way for me to interact with Japanese kids as well, and I get paid to do that. So I love that job. So that's the main reason why I joined that. And it's amazing to see that kids here are very advanced, especially me coming from Sri Lanka and then being exposed to this environment. And because kids, like, even when they're on a younger age, they learn so much, especially when it comes to like how to respect other people and the cleanliness and how disciplined they are. Very advanced. And even just like using technology as well. That's something that really surprised me coming from Sri Lanka. And sometimes, like, when kids reach like 5 or 6 years old, you can actually talk to them like they're one of your friends. Not like a kid, but you can have a proper conversation with them, which is very nice. And yeah, I love that job. And yeah, I'm really grateful that I was able to experience that when I was a university student. And it's not just me working there to get paid, but I was learning a lot of things and then building relationships with the kids, with the parents. And again, parents are also like very nice. Again, I mean, Japanese people in general are very nice, right? So if you do something for them, the chances are they go above and beyond to make sure that your needs are met as well, which is a nice thing that I really admire about Japanese people.
Do you find a community and build a community as part of your university life? You find a job that you enjoy and kind of start settling. And in the background of this, you still have the courses, the exams, and all of that. At the beginning, still maybe with the mindset of leaving, but at some point you start changing and are planning to maybe have a career here.
Yeah.
Did you know already which kind of direction you wanted to go with your work? Because I imagine working with the kids was fun and interesting as a part-time job, but maybe not something you were aiming for full-time after graduation.
No, definitely not. That's why I experienced that question. Like, I had to face it. Am I going to live here? Because I was trying to postpone it as much as possible, that like facing that question. But you have to do that, right, at some point. And then I had to really decide, like, okay, am I going to stay here? Am I going to leave? If I leave, what am I going to do? If I were to go back to Sri Lanka, what am I going to go do there? And the thing is, like, since I basically became an adult in Japan, in Tokyo, even if I were to go back to Sri Lanka, I do not know how to do anything, to be honest. I had to rely a lot on other people, at least in the beginning, right? And the thing is that I also built a lot of relationships, a lot of good things in this country, in Tokyo, that I did not want to leave. So I was just like, okay, instantly, like, there's a lot of good things here that are going on, and there's a lot of opportunities that I can get myself in there as well. So I decided to stay. So it has now come to a point after 8 years. This is something I made that decision, but I had this realization when I went to Sri Lanka the last time, which was exactly a year ago. When I went there, I kind of felt like a foreigner in my own country, which is a very weird feeling to have. And I've listened to other people who explain that to me, but experiencing that myself is just like very weird in a sense, because like, it is my country, this is where I grew up in, but at the same time I cannot relate to my high school friends or the people that I meet on the streets. And even if I were to live there, I don't know how to get things done, if that makes sense. But the moment I get back to Japan, I'm like, oh, I'm home. I know the people here. I have my core group of friends here. I can do anything. And yeah, that's something I had to experience. Yeah.
So that kind of gave you the confirmation of staying here.
Absolutely.
When it comes to your career, did you have an idea of where you wanted to take that and what you wanted to do? Because when you get to the end of university here, you have the typical Shushoku Katsudo. What was it like for you?
I did not go through the Shushoku Katsudo. I honestly had no idea, to be honest, like even after I graduate. So my plan was to like, okay, that's also when COVID happened. And that's also when I decided to dabble in with the social media thing. So I started creating content during that time after I graduated university. And I was just more like exploring what I can do while having an income stream just to support myself. And that's led me to basically where I am today.
So COVID and the lack of direction led you to start creating content. I think you did that under the account Vinska from Tokyo.
Back then, a different account.
Different account.
It was a different.
You started with the idea of, okay, let's put things out there.
Yeah.
Content in Japan really exploded then after COVID, I think, or content about Japan.
Yeah.
For you at the time, what were you interested in that you started?
So I was trying to hop on that trend as well, just like riding the wave. But so I was also like creating content as much as possible about, hey, we got this cool cafe in Tokyo, because like during that time, all the borders were closed as well. That's also one of the reasons why social media exploded in Japan, about Japan. Hey, you had this cool cafe. We have robots over here. Look at this food. Because like in Japan, food is a big culture here. And mostly people come here just to experience that. The food, the sensations. And I was just like going out of my way to kind of like show people outside of Japan, hey, this is what's happening in Japan. And then be that inside man. But it's more like I had to go out of my way to do that. I wasn't really passionate about it, if that makes sense. And content itself gained some traction, but I was not really enjoying it. And I also knew there are some other people who's trying to do the same thing, but they're also Japanese, or they have been here more than me, and they actually love what they're doing. So I can never compete with them. Never. So I just had to find my own path that only I can walk in. And then I was just like thinking for days and months. And then I came across this piece of video just randomly popped on my Instagram feed. There's this a creator in the States touring other people's apartments, like literally going up to people asking, hey, how much do you pay for rent? And then touring their apartments and making a video out of it. Basically, the whole video is just a tour of the apartment and then their interaction captured in a couple of seconds, and then sharing it with the world. I instantly fell in love with it, the format, because that it being during COVID, I didn't have any people to hang out with, right? And I was also studying Japanese, and I was mostly free as well. I had
Mhm.
time in my hands. So I wanted to, first of all, find a way to do what I love to do, which is creating content, and two, find a way to study Japanese and then interact with people. So this format matches everything, just like tick, tick, tick. I'm like, okay, let's go out, approach some Japanese people and then see if they can offer me a tour of their house. Yeah.
That's a very, I would say, Western concept of approaching a person. I mean, I imagine sometimes it's staged too, but just approaching someone on the street, asking to visit their home and see if they take you in for a tour. In the Japanese cultural context, I think the reactions might be quite different. So you see this online, you're like, oh, this is great, I want to do this. What was the reality like for you to actually go out there?
So I found it out the hard way. It is exactly that you mentioned, but at the time I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought it's going to be easier for me to get someone to say yes to, letting me tour their apartment. So as I mentioned before, I just went out of my way, spent basically days on the streets, and at the time my Japanese was also not that good either. So I'm just like trying to, you know, put together some words to make it a sentence, and then sometimes Google Translate. I was using a lot of Google Translate back then as well. I'm then basically pitching the idea to people. And at the time, again, I didn't have any videos that I've done previously, so I didn't have any proof of concept. So I was just showing them this video done by someone else who's not me. And then in broken Japanese, I'm trying to explain to them. Turns out it's a no. Next one, no. Next one, no. So I tried that for almost a month. I'm sure I went through like more than 50 to 100 people during that time. Yeah, a lot. Everyone, again, it's during COVID as well. So inviting a stranger into the apartment and then being filmed the whole thing, it's in Japan, it's very foreign concept for them. So it didn't really work out that well. So what I had to do, but I really wanted to do it, right? Because like I know it's going to work if I do it. It's just like getting that first one done. So what did I do? I asked like one of my friends who worked in that English teaching thing, my gym, and then, hey, I know this can be a little bit too much what I'm going to ask, and if you are not okay with it, completely fine. And she's also Japanese as well. I'm trying to do this series on social media where I tour people's apartment, and I know it's in Japan. I'm very curious about this concept and then how other people live, and I know if I do it right, it's going to work. And then I had to do a lot of convincing because like she also lives by herself as well, and since she's Japanese, she's very concerned about her privacy. I was able to get the yes, so I went to her apartment, filmed that with her, and I'm very, very, very thankful for her for allowing me to do that. And then posted that, got a really good feedback from the audience. And yeah, now I have one video to show to other people. Hey, I've done this, would you like to do the same thing with me? And in order for me to do that, I will also like promote your your social media accounts, or if you have a business, your business as well. And again, it's not an easy thing to do to get an yes, but it kind of snowballed from there. One video became 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here we are.
You persisted with this because you believed that this concept would really work in Japan.
100%.
The first video's reaction was pretty positive. When did you start seeing that, okay, this is like taking off and this is something that you want to double down on?
I mean, it was very quick, the feedback at the time. I knew like I'm going to do this because like no one was doing it at the time in Tokyo. And then again, another reason why I really wanted to do it was like it's Tokyo, it's the biggest city in the world, and Japan. Everyone around the world is interested about Japan. That's why you also see like there's a lot of tourists coming into Japan to experience that. It's a very unique thing, right? And then nothing is online when it comes to people's homes or how people live, Japanese people live here. So I knew that it's going to work. And it's just more like how many reps I'm willing to do, how many no's I'm willing to go through to get to that one yes.
There's one side of it, which is your interest in the concept and trying to replicate this and sharing the stories in Japan. What I'm curious about as well is what did you learn by visiting all these apartments at the beginning, seeing how people live, about how people live here in Japan?
So in the beginning, I was just doing it for the sake of doing it. But the more repetitions that you go through, the more tours that you do, you kind of tend to understand the patterns of, right.
Hmm.
And what I realized is like when you go to a home, first of all, it's very, very difficult to get invited to a Japanese person's home. Yeah. And I'm very blessed in a way for them to invite me and just like even film it. And then during that time, I get to have lots of conversations with them as well. A lot of hear a lot of stories. And the other thing that you realize is like when you're visiting a home, you can kind of see what this person is like, what their
Hmm.
priorities are based on how they have designed the place, what kind of
Interesting.
like stuff they have in their home, right. So it's very interesting to see some people I've been to homes, they are very big fan of Marvel. So they have all the
Ah.
sculptures and stickers, and it's more like when you visit inside, it's more like you're visiting a world of Marvel, right. Some people are really into music, and then they have like variety of guitars which I have no idea about. And then they tend to explain, because like if they really care about something, they love talking about it as well,
Hmm.
right. So I get to hear a lot of stories, and then a lot of knowledge. Actually, I learn a lot just by hearing about what these people care about deeply. So that's very fun to do that, and that's why I love doing this thing as well. Everything is different, every day is different.
Why do you think people let you into their houses? The first one was someone you knew from working at school, and you convinced that person to help you kickstart your project.
Yeah.
The second, third, fourth, fifth people, they can see the concept, but still, why do they accept to let a stranger into their house to show something that is very private to them, to the entire world?
Right. Good question. Actually, I don't even know the answer for
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I mean, in the beginning it was difficult, right. And i I honestly don't. I'm pretty good with people. I can tell you that.
Hmm.
And I'm very respectful. Like it's not like I'm going to their spaces and just like do the things that they don't like me to do. I'm very respectful. I know what I'm doing, and I know it's my responsibility to be aware about like the whole thing, and then not to destroy things in their house, and then respect their privacy as well. So even when I'm doing these tours, I always ask them like, okay, is there anything that you don't want me to show on the
Hmm.
video? Is there anything that you, especially the first thing that comes to my mind is the area. Most people do not want to reveal where they live
Hmm.
because like for privacy reasons, and I really respect that as well. But why they invite me to their home, I have no clue. I think it's just, yeah.
I'm curious. Do they also ask a lot of questions back? Why are you doing this project?
Oh
Why are
yeah,
you
all the
going
time.
into? What are they curious about your life and your journey?
The first question they ask me is like, why, like why did you
Hmm.
decide to do this? Because I'm more or less like explaining the same thing, that hey, I really like how people live. Because like for Japanese people, it's, for most people, they care about having something fancy or like a really nice home to showcase on social media. But what I'm curious is like, I'm just interested about how people live, like genuinely. And then every person has a story, right? Everyone is unique, very unique. That's what makes people interesting as well. And then every home has its own story. So in social media, since we're all in this game, sometimes videos that perform the best is not the houses with like, humongous amount of like, you like very luxurious houses
Hmm.
with like really nice interior, but it's the story. It's always about the person. House is more like a vehicle that I use to like tell the story, but the main concept is mostly the person and their story, and then yeah, how they use their space to kind of show who they are. But I do get a lot of questions from them, and I have to explain, you don't have to have fancy things here. All I care about is you, your story. Just be you in front of the camera, and then yeah, I'll make sure you look good.
So you start visiting all these houses, documenting the people that live there, how they live and what they have in their homes. Is that also what kind of developed your interest into real estate?
Yeah, actually. So I was a social media creator first. I started there, and then that's why if you were to ask me like during COVID or like even after graduation, would I be a real estate agent? the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of happened naturally. So going back to the same point, I got to learn a lot of things just by visiting these houses. So at the time I started it, I was only interested about people, but more houses I visit, I learn a lot about, again, yes, people and their stories, but also the interior designing, the real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and then the layout of the home. So every house is very unique, right? Sometimes you go to a design apartment,
Yeah.
and in Tokyo there's a lot of that, and it's so cool to see that. So I just wanted to see ins and outs of that. And since the show, the social media show, the apartment tour show, like grew really well, I also got asked to work with other real estate companies to for their social media accounts. So I kind of started doing that because, like, why not? I started dabbling into their social media marketing side while also touring people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I did this, I also got inquiries from the people who are watching saying, "Hey, we are coming to Tokyo. Could you please help us find an
Oh.
apartment?" But I couldn't do that because I was not a real estate agent, right? So I was working on the marketing side. Whatever the leads I get, I give it to the company and then they take care of that. And then I'm like, I do not actually know how to work in the industry, and I don't know ins and outs of the housing market, or, like, how to rent an apartment and things like that. So I decided to become a real estate agent and then get into the sales side. So, and then I can actually help myself to all these people that are asking me to help them.
So you make content, you get interest from real estate companies to make content for them, and then interest from your viewers to help find apartments.
Yeah.
And then the natural progression for you is, okay, I'm going to become a real estate agent. What was the journey like? Is there any requirements for you to become an agent in terms of like licenses, in terms of how could you go from basically then being a content creator to being a sort of official real estate agent able to help your viewers find their places?
So it's very interesting how it works in Japan. In Japan, you do not need to have a license to become a real estate agent, which is not the case in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
In other countries, every real estate agent, whoever deals with the transaction, you need to have a license. But in Japan, it's more like the company has to have the license and the real estate broker needs to have a license. If you are trying to be a real estate agent, you don't need to have a license. And the interesting thing about Japan is, like, if you have the license, the real estate license, it's called takken, you can pretty much do deals for the whole country, which is, again, not the case in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in the United States, you need to have a license for every state.
Yeah.
It's very different. So my company has a license. I personally do not. But the knowledge-wise is the same.
So then you, without the license, are able to basically introduce properties, meet the landlords, and kind of get access to your clients to visit them. And then for the deal side of things, you'd introduce them to the broker of your company that will then finalize all the paperwork, basically.
Yes. So every documentation, every transactions that happens through the company, it has to go through the broker and then get approved. And then the deal is basically done.
So you don't need a license. I imagine you start applying and you find, or through your contacts that you already have, you found a real estate agency that you can start working with. What was it like for you transitioning to seeing the, let's say, behind the scenes, the things that happen before the people have these apartments full of stories that you can kind of go and film?
Honestly, the main thing that surprised me the most is foreigner friendliness of the apartments here in the real estate market in general. Again, since all the people, most 99% of the people that are inquiring me about finding help, looking for help to find their apartment, they're all foreigners. And then when I was directing them to this company, all I had to do was that. I didn't have to find the apartment. They're going to take care of that. But when I was trying to find the apartment, and since I was dealing with the foreigners, most apartments in Tokyo are surprisingly not foreigner friendly. So you always have to filter through the system to see, okay, which apartments are foreigner friendly, which apartments are not. And sometimes, very rare, it also depends on the nationality as well. Rare, but it is changing. So for example, it has changed a lot right after COVID. There's a lot of apartments that are available for foreigners right now than before. So it is changing, but it's more like a slow progress, but it is heading towards the right direction.
What does this depend on? Is it the landlord, the owner of the specific unit that can decide? Or is it the rule from the management company of a certain building, and they decide for all the units in the building? How is it decided if it can or cannot be rented out to a foreigner?
Both. So if you're a private owner of the property, they can decide who they want to live in their own home, right? So it's completely up to them. They can even have some um, guidelines for the Japanese people as well, because at the end of the day, it's a privately owned property.
Mhm.
But if it's a company like a management company, some management companies are very open to foreigners, even for students as well. So students is another thing that, if you don't know, very difficult to get apartments in Tokyo. That's
Because you don't have an income yet, and especially if you're a foreign student, you don't have a
Yeah.
guarantor in Japan.
I mean, if some of you guys are watching, if you are a student, do you know what I'm talking about? If you live in Japan, you have to go through a lot of struggle, a lot of barriers, and jump in through the hurdles. Even it doesn't matter how much money you have here. If you're a student, it's very difficult. And I have some cases where people like, okay, I'm a student, but I have enough money. I can pay the rent for the whole 2 years up front. Still, it's a no.
When we are the end customer trying to get these apartments, we often get the rejection. Sorry, it's not possible. Sometimes we get told it's because we are foreigner, but then there's no further specifications. As the real estate agent, do you get more clarification on why they don't want to rent out to foreigners? Is it for reasons of they're worried about finances, or they're worried about cultural fit with the other tenants? What are some of the things?
So yeah, first we asked if it is foreigner friendly or not, first of all. And sometimes they're really good on paper. They match the whole criteria that the management company is asking for. Still, people get rejected, but they do not reveal the reason.
Mhm.
So that's something even we don't know. All we can do is like, okay, find another apartment and apply and go through the same process again. Hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've enjoyed since becoming an actual real estate agent and kind of working in that field and getting to see the property, seeing how this web of tenants, landlords, real estate agencies and such, kind of like it all works together, and seeing the behind the scenes?
I mean, for me, the fun part is the people. I'm a very people person. That's, again, coming back to the apartment tour thing. That's a reason why I started that, so that I can interact with people. So doing real estate, I get to meet a lot of people in different walks of life, different countries, and they all move into Tokyo, right? So I get to be a part of starting their new life in a new country, and I get to find the place that they are going to call home, right? It's such a blessing, and I'm very grateful to be able to do that. And yeah, that's, I think, the part that I really enjoy the most.
So as a student, giving people their first experience of Sri Lankan food, and now as a professional adult, giving people their first experience of a home in Japan, a place to stay at, getting to know how this all works. What are some of the things that really surprised you that maybe people don't know so much about when they're just applying and searching, that you're like, oh, this is actually how it works. This is something that people could prepare for and have an easier time finding the right place?
I mean, mostly people, are you familiar with the platform Sumo?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when they see apartments there, they tend to think that, okay, I can apply here, I can go live there. First of all, everything you see on Sumo is not available, and everything you see on Sumo is not foreigner friendly. So I always have to tell them, to the people who start, by sending me the links of Sumo. But what we can do is, like, we always, whenever people like a specific apartment they see on an online platform like Sumo, they send it to us, and then we have to double check. Okay, first of all, is it foreigner friendly? Yes or no? Is it available? Yes or no? And the other thing is, like, in Tokyo, the property market moves so fast. The apartment gets taken so quickly, but also new apartments come to the market really quickly as well. So in Tokyo, the market is like booming from January all the way up to April.
Because that's when
May.
people change jobs or
A
change
lot of people
universities.
move. So finding an apartment during that time is a nightmare. You have to be really fast. You have to be ready with all your paperwork and whatnot. So that's what I would say, actually. Like, if you're a foreigner, because like in foreigners, in our mind, we usually like to take our time. We like to think about, okay, do I really want to live there? Do I really like this neighborhood? Okay, let me also go see some other apartments. while also keeping an eye over here. It's difficult, especially from January to April, May, because you can't have your time, unfortunately. If you go to a place, if you like it, it might not match all your boxes that you're looking for. As long as it matches most, just apply it right straight away.
And that brings up the interesting other side. You mentioned people like to take their time in the West, maybe to scout properties, to discover the neighborhoods and see if they really want to live there. On the other side, I think a lot of people don't necessarily like to be pressured by a real estate agent telling them you have to sign, you have to apply now. But the fact is, in Tokyo, during that period, especially beginning of the year, you nearly have to. Otherwise, the chances kind of go away.
Yeah.
When people are browsing Sumo, which is a listing platforms for all kinds of properties throughout Japan, and you mentioned that a lot of the properties are actually not available, just like for show.
It's not like actually they're not there for sure. It's because the property market moves so fast, it is not up to date all the time.
So the property might be signed away already, but still listed on the...
Exactly.
How can people know before that? Is it therefore possible for people to work without a real estate agent, or do they kind of need to always go through one agency or another to find a property? If they want
you always need to go through an agency here if you are looking to rent property, especially as a foreigner, because like you don't know. It's going to be very difficult if you go to a traditional real estate agency in Japan because they don't speak the language and then you don't speak their language. That's where the tough part comes in. That's where we come in to help. That's why we are here to make the foreigners' life easy, because we speak English, they speak English. Yes, the back end part is all Japanese, but everything that happens between the agent and the client is all in English. And it's very transparent as well. But for someone to go through the same process with a really Japanese real estate agency, the experience is very different. And the real estate in Japan is known to be very traditional as well. So you're going to have to go through a lot of paperwork and a lot of stamps or signing. Yeah.
When foreigners that look for apartments are looking at listing sites like Sumo or Homes or whichever it may be, they look at the property, and I imagine maybe they start looking at the photos a little bit, and maybe they look a little bit at the layout, size, and whatnot. As a real estate agent, when you look at the listing, what do you look at? What are the first points you actually go to? Because it might not be the photos or the...
I mean, we go from client first. Like, first identify what they're looking for, and then what kind of place they want. What are the interests, right? Okay, if they are going to be commuting to the workplace, where's the office at? Where is it located? And how many bedrooms are you looking for? What's the layout you're looking for? Should it be 2 stories, just 1 story, or should it be a mansion or a part? Or what do you care about? And then depending on that, we find the apartment that fits most of what they're looking for. And then suggest, okay, here are the options. Which one would you like to visit? And then whatever they say they would like to visit, we go visit that apartment together. And then everything moves on from there.
Are there any specific details that you pay attention to that are like the fine print that people should always double check before, that they can maybe find out before, when I just even look at the listings? Oh, actually, there's a problem here, or there was you cannot do something specific in this apartment, or are there like some details that are you...
It's very straightforward, to be honest. Like, if you are looking to raise pets, that's another thing. First of all, if it's big dogs, difficult to find, but that's always something that we have to check from our side, from the back end side, just dealing with the property management companies. If as example, if someone has like 2 cats, we have to first of all check something called the zoom in or the information sheet. Sometimes it's written, but sometimes it's not. So we have to call and to the management company again, going back to the old school thing. We have to double check, okay, do you guys accept this person with 2 cats? And then sometimes it also depends on the type of the dog or the cat or the pet. And things like that, we always have to pay attention. And other than that, it's pretty straightforward, honestly.
What is a typical kind of period people should plan for from when they start looking for an apartment until signing? Like, if they want to be fast, how fast can it actually be done?
Depends. If we're talking about renting, I would say the fastest you can go, like push to a week even.
Wow.
But it's rare, and I do not recommend that. Uh, Generally speaking, a good time period would be 3 to 4 weeks. That's like very safe.
Hmm.
So the question is, when someone is new to Japan, they can rent an apartment right away because again, it takes some time, but also you don't have enough paperwork to be able to apply to an apartment right away. So what I recommend is, like, for people who are new to Japan, they have to choose a short-term rental apartment to stay for the initial period of time, and you cannot stay in a hotel because in order to, this is a weird thing again in Japan, in order to apply for a long-term apartment, you need to have an address in Japan, and it has to be registered on your residence card as well, on the back of the residence card. But if you're new to Japan, you don't have an address, and you cannot use a hotel's address if you're staying in a hotel. But what you can do is, like, you can stay in an Airbnb, one option, or a short-term rental, which is, yeah, there's a lot of company that provides that as well. And then you can use that address to apply for a long-term apartment. So there's like a little time gap between everything. So during that time, after you get the address, you have to go to a real estate agent, find the apartments, visit some apartments, and apply. So 3 to 4 weeks is more like the safe time.
Has visiting people's homes and now working in real estate changed the way you want to live a little bit in Tokyo, the neighborhoods you want to be in, the kind of place that you want to have, having seen the diversity of what's out there? Has it kind of changed a little bit your personal priorities?
100%. Because what I realized is people tend to choose the neighborhoods on what they value. And in Tokyo, I don't know how it works in Osaka. In Tokyo, people tend to move a lot.
Okay.
Not because they particularly do not like the place they live in, but they want to experience different neighborhoods.
Interesting.
Every neighborhood is different, and everything offers different things for people. And depending on what stage they're at in their life, people tend to change that, and then they get to experience different things. Yeah.
It's interesting because from my personal experiences, moving in Japan can be quite expensive, especially if you work with like the larger moving companies.
It's not cheap.
Yeah,
I tell you that it's not cheap.
Moving, I guess the minimum contract period for many rental places is like 2 years. So I guess every 2 years, maybe people, and that's and then you've got all the upfront costs of moving into the new place. That's a lot of investments.
Yeah, that's another thing that people get surprised about, the initial cost, because it's not cheap to rent here. Because, like, again, let's see, like, your rent is around 200,000 yen, which is, again, can be quite a lot for students, right? So
it's really a lot. I think
so
in Osaka at least this is a lot. For Tokyo prices maybe less so, but for Osaka that's a very, very expensive.
Interesting. Rent. It is, quite expensive in Tokyo as well, but especially for a student, it is extremely expensive, right? So if you're thinking about, okay, let's find an apartment around 200,000 yen, and then the initial moving cost is around at least 4 to 5 times the rent. So it comes up to around 1 million, and just the initial cost, it's not even gonna cover the rent for like 5 months. It's just 1 month, and the whole cost is 1 million, right? And that is considering the rent is 200,000. But that being said, there's a lot of people that are paying around 500,000 or up, even 1 million, close to 1 million rent.
Wow.
So if you add everything up, the initial cost is pretty steep.
Yeah. I'm doing the math in my mind now. Okay.
It's very steep. So it is not cheap, but if someone were to choose an apartment that high end, they might not move every 2 to 3 years. They are there for a long time. But generally speaking, most people in Tokyo tend to move a lot.
How about yourself then? Have you decided, have you found a place where you like to stay at and you like to hang out and you're like, no, this is good for me. This is...
I like to move around as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I recently moved to Yotsu area. Are you familiar with that area?
No.
Great location. And
what is it close to?
Everything. I just bicycle everywhere.
Okay.
Like, I'm the person that you see on the streets with a bicycle wearing my jacket. So it's a very convenient location, and again, going back to the Sri Lankan restaurant, I think there's a Sri Lankan restaurant, a really good one in Tokyo, just a 10-minute walk from my home.
That's convenient. Yes.
and very convenient and very blessed to be there as well. And I became really good friends with the owner recently. So if you are ever coming to Tokyo, I have a good spot for you.
So where does that bring you now? You started out making content that gained traction, you built your interest into real estate. You started a career in real estate, able to work as part of an agency, providing a lot of foreigners with a place to stay, a home in Japan. And now you have your latest project, which is you want to visit 1,000 homes. And
I do.
And you're documenting this process on Instagram as well. What was the idea behind this project? Why 1,000? And how's the project going so far?
The number is very random, to be honest. Like, it's not like I'm gonna get there when I hit 1,000 homes. It's just like a very random number, but it's more like a goal that I have for myself, which is not easy to achieve as well. So I wanted to set a really big goal for myself to push myself through. And I'm a big fan of Japan. Again, I've been here for 8 years. It's also in a way a bit selfish why I do what I do, because all these 8 years I've mostly spent my time in Tokyo. I haven't been to a lot of parts in Japan, and I know there's a lot to Japan than just Tokyo. A lot of beauty here. And in Tokyo, when I was touring the homes, almost all the houses, Tokyo, there's a lot of apartments, not like single detached houses, right? So you tend to visit all these apartments, even for my project as well. And everything, the layout is all the same. It's not like a very Japanese traditional house that I've was thinking about touring when I first started the project. Yes, I got to connect with people and I really enjoy that as well. But I really want to show people and then see myself what Japan has to offer, like a traditional Japanese house, what a really Japanese family in a countryside lives like, what they value, what can I see in their homes. And again, like I said before, there's nothing like that exists online, at least yet. So I want to see that for myself in a very selfish way, but also show it to the outside world. That's more like the motivation behind this project.
Documenting how families live, not only in apartments but in the countryside. What are you particularly interested in how they live and how they? Is it the architecture, the structure of the place? Is it the family systems of how everything is organized inside the homes? What are you so curious about?
The stories, man, the stories, and again, how the families live. Again, I love the hospitality. Whenever I go to the places, there is again going over and above to make sure that I'm okay. And I became friends with a lot of people. I meet them for the first time when I tour the apartments, but we just end up becoming really good friends, and then we hang out sometimes, and that's something I really love. And also, I know I'm blessed to be able to do that as well, because as a foreigner, you don't really get invited to go to Japanese people's homes. It's very difficult, even if you're friends with someone. So I'm in a very blessed position in that regards, and I'm aware of that as well.
So how do you get yourself invited to these places that are not in the city, where you can't walk up to someone on the street, but you're trying to visit a place in Saitama, Ibaraki, Tochigi, and kind of going further and further away from Tokyo? In
the beginning, like I said, it was pretty difficult, but now since I've done it so many times, a lot of people have seen the content as well. So it has become easier in a way. And then some of the people that I've already been visited, they recommend their friends to me. And then the nice thing right now is that the tables have reversed. Some people actually reach out to me to come to their home. Hey, I really like what you're doing. Can we do a video together as well? Which is a nice thing to have, right? So it has become to that point, and I'm again grateful for that.
1,000 videos. Even if you wait to do one per day, that will be
it's going to take some time for sure, 100%. And a lot of traveling, and I can't wait to see what kind of experiences I get by doing that. The knowledge and the amount of people and the type of people and the stories of them that I get to hear. I'll give you a good story for this one. I think you're going to really like it. Again, a good motivation behind why I do this project, because of the stories that I get to hear, right? So there was this one time I went to a house in Saitama area, I believe. Very traditional Japanese house. And then nice family, two young kids, very young. And they have this like a kominka, right? So if someone watching do not know what kominka is, like, you can just pull out a picture right over here. It's a very traditional Japanese house. So when I was in Sri Lanka, again, going back to the childhood, time to time when we watch TV, there's this like Japanese samurai movies goes up on TV, right? At the time I had no idea, but when I see the houses through that TV, that's more like the image I had about Japanese houses when I was a kid, right? So I went to this home, which is exactly the same, like a very traditional looking Japanese house. The moment I stepped in, I was like, I fell in love. It's more like I've already been here kind of sense. And it's a big house as well, very samurai looking house with the shoji doors, built with like wood, and a lovely family as well. So they invited me there, had a lovely time shooting, and again, we had some snacks, but I believe if I remember correctly, it was also from their backyard.
Oh,
Yeah, which is very cool.
so
that's
like homegrown fruits.
So that's something I really love. Like, that's another reason why I want to go more into the countryside of Japan to experience more of that. And then, yeah, we toured the house, and then again we hear the stories of the people, right? And then turns out that house they live in, they've actually bought it from someone else, right? This house is again built pre-World War II, so it has some really good history to that. So what happened to the previous owner was, like, when the previous owner passed away, the kids, again, since it was not in Tokyo, the kids all started moving to Tokyo, and this house kind of became abandoned, and the kids decided to sell this house to this couple instead of like having sitting there like empty. So they bought the house, but this is the whole story that they're telling me, right? So I'm just like sitting there listening to this story. They told me that the previous owner actually was born in that same house, lived the entire life up until he's like 92 or something, died in that same house. So this house is basically have experience of this whole family for around a decade. Like all the joys, laughter, and the times they have cried together, all the meals that they have shared together, all within these walls, right?
92 years. So
Yeah.
The previous owner's life.
Previous owner's life. And then the whole family moved out. Here's a new family in that same walls. So it just like makes you think about how fragile the human lives are. But also, this family has no idea about what happened when the previous family lived there, right? So they're making their own memories there.
Yeah.
In that same place, right? They're walking the same place that other people have walked on. And it's just so nice to hear that. That's something that really touched me the moment I toured that home. And yeah, man, that's the kind of stories I get to hear, especially on the countryside when you visit families like that.
How do you find a family like this in the countryside?
For them, actually, they reach out to me, thankfully.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they were like, hey, we live in this countryside, would you like to come meet us? And I was like, yeah, why not?
How much time do you spend with a family like this to hear those stories, to kind of get to a sense for the place and the stories that happened in those walls?
Yeah, so it totally depends, but the video that you see, it's mostly just me interacting with the person. I just happen to capture it, right? In the beginning, when I first started it, funny enough, I started with okay, I'm gonna go professional mode. I'm gonna start with the camera. That was my idea. Like when I first started, right? People all got like terrified, and they were not themselves in front of the camera, and not most people are comfortable, especially Japanese people, comfortable speaking in front of a camera with a stranger in their own house, right? So what I did was like I switched it to iPhone, where most people are familiar with the iPhone, so it's just easy for them to be themselves, be who they are. So it kind of gave the key for them to open up more in front of me. So it's more like they don't do it in a way that they're performing. It's just a genuine interaction, person to person. And I asked all the questions I have. I'm genuinely curious about the house, their life or what their family is doing, and they're also very curious about what I'm doing. It's a nice back and forth.
You said earlier that you do this a little bit in a selfish way because you're so curious and you want to know the stories, meet the people and such. For all the viewers that are watching and following the stories you document, what would you like them to take away from this project you have, from all the interactions you have? What would you like them to know about the lives of the people you interview?
Yeah, absolutely. Another reason why it is a selfish project, but another reason why I want to do it is like in Japan, when you, again, going back to the thing that I mentioned before, when I first started creating content about Japan, I started with like food, cafes, like the technology around Japan. And that's pretty much all the content that you see online these days. If you search anything about Japan,
5 recommendations in Kyoto, 10
exactly, there you
recommendations
go.
in Nakameguro,
There you go.
and go to this new cafe,
Go
that
to this,
open
go to
theme
that,
by
do
blah,
this
yeah.
theme park and all that. But there's no such thing as like you're exploring Japan. And also like traveling as well, it's always the golden route: Kyoto, Osaka, Tokyo, Nagoya, the whole thing, right? So I want to showcase a different side of Japan, how Japanese people live in their own country, in their own home, surrounded by their own people. Because like if you go to a lot of these countrysides, there's not a lot of foreigners there, right? And me going there, it's more like sometimes I get treated as a VIP guest. It's so fun to like experience that. But I really like interacting in that way. And again, that's something that not a lot of people get to experience. So I just want to show them how it is in their Japanese people's homes, how the life goes on, just through a video. And there's a lot you can learn. I learn a lot, certainly.
And we'll make sure to have all the links in the description so people can go and find those stories and kind of follow your journey.
Yeah.
We covered quite a lot of topics so far. Was there anything that was important to you that you would still like to bring up or dive into that I didn't ask you about?
We covered pretty much a lot.
Yeah.
But I do want to say I am always working on some side projects. But again, other than this 1000 home tour project, another ambition that I have is I do want to produce a worldwide Netflix show, like something in any streaming platform. I want to make it big, like when it comes to the house tour project, because I know it's really going to work. It's already been proven. I've already laid the groundwork for that as well. So if someone is watching this and then working for a production company or like a producer, just reach out. Just let's make it happen, because I know for a fact that I'm in a very unique position to do that. And if anyone's going to do that, I am the person to do that in Japan.
So many big projects coming ahead.
I want to showcase the real Japan to people. It's not just like the touristy things, but how Japanese people live their life, what goes on behind the scenes of social media, and just to showcase that genuinely, because I'm very curious about that. I know millions of other people are very curious about that as well. So
if you're listening to this and you're a producer, reach out.
Reach out.
The links will be in the description so people can find you, find your work.
Absolutely.
It's been super fun hearing your journey.
Thank you.
Kind of everything you've been through, from coming to Sri Lanka on a scholarship to teaching children English at the
It's very
gym,
fun. Yeah.
to starting content during COVID that turned into an interest for real estate, and now documenting stories and planning a Netflix or a big show about it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming, making time for us. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. This was Unpacking Japan, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Take care.
Wow.
Thank you, man. That was amazing.
Thanks for sticking with us until the end. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to Unpacking Japan. It's the best way to help us grow and ensures we can keep bringing you these deep dives every week. Till next time, take care.